remember coming back and smelling something in the air, but not really thinking anything of it.
And it quickly became clear this was not a boil water advisory. This was something much more serious.
The value of water will only go up. And that's true everywhere. So everywhere the value of water will continue to go up.
So, you know, those first few hours, it was the afternoon whenever the story was breaking from other outlets. And my colleague and I, Ashton, we sort of picked up and tried to gather as much information as we could at that point.
I was live on the air when the governor's first tweet went out basically announcing that this had happened.
It was clear almost immediately that no one was prepared.
I think we all were in a bit of disbelief when Gary Southern, someone handed him a bottle of water during that first news conference outside the Freedom Industries headquarters, and he took a swig of water from this bottle. I think we couldn't quite believe that he'd made that kind of a blunder in the midst of all of this, and it really set the tone. That first news conference, the way it was organized, the way Gary Southern interacted with the media, that really set the tone for the way he was perceived by media and how he was perceived in the community, because people were watching that coverage live. It was unfiltered. I mean, it was the news conference. It was happening on the air for people to see, and online we were streaming it. So they saw a very unvarnished version of what was happening.
The economic value of water spread across so many different facets of life that it almost gets, pardon the pun, but it gets diluted. You know, its real value gets diluted because you've got a tourism sector, you've got a quality of life sector. People's willingness to pay for clean water is huge. You've got a recreational sector, you've got the power industry sector. And then, of course, you have the drinking water sector, and all of these things draw on the value of water.
But there were all these residual questions. You know, will any of the MCHM stay in my pipes? Will it cling to the metal? And, you know, what about my hot water heater? And no matter how many times we would explain the process as it had been explained to us, viewers weren't believing what they were hearing and what they were seeing, because there had been that confusion in the beginning, and because there had been some mixed messaging early on and then throughout the rest of the process.
I think there were so many questions about exactly what was in the water that initially, whenever they said go ahead and flush, that I will say this. I think from an economic standpoint, there were so many people that couldn't go out and afford to go get a hotel room, couldn't afford to go drive 30, 40, 50 miles to another place to take a shower, to do their laundry, to do the necessities with water, that I think that because of that situation, people just had to go ahead and use it.
Like, the one thing that you notice when you go out west is that every hotel, every place you go to has fountains, has water fountains. And when you come east, nobody does. And the reason out west is that they want to show you that they have water. And they have water in abundance. It's a very deep psychological thing.
After the spill, people were coming to work unshowered, basically cleaning up as best you could with like baby wipes or some sort of, like, you know, whatever towels you had laying around that you could clean yourself with.
In short, it was a mess. It was a mess. I was lucky. I had water. But that meant I was sort of ground zero for people who needed showers, who needed to fill up water bottles, for people who just kind of wanted a place where they could get away from the no water situation wherever they were and feel a sense of normalcy for a little bit. So I was very, very fortunate.